Hello ladies and gentlemen, Top Hat Wrestling Man here, joined once again by my comrade Oliver Peace for another instalment of Deep Dives. Brother Peace, I knew you'd come. This week we are going to look at another ludicrous WWE tenure of a WWE superstar's parent. We have gone from Shelton Benjamin's mama to Kurt Angle's brother to today Torrie Wilson's father. Because, as we know, wrestling in the early noughties was certainly good, wholesome family entertainment that definitely was not full of violence, vile language and constant obscenity. The daughter of Al, Torrie Wilson, had originally worked in WCW briefly before it was purchased by WWE. She then came to the WWE as part of the Alliance in 2001, but would become a goodie very quickly. You see, she had a falling out of her tag team partner Stacy Keibler, and would end up defeating her in a lingerie match at No Mercy that year. See, what did I tell you? Wholesome television. After this serious sporting contest, Torrie Wilson remained a consistent feature on television, getting drafted to SmackDown in 2002 as part of the first draft. Now, another key player in today's tout is none other than Dawn Marie, a young lady who had worked in the original ECW from 1998 until its closure in 2001. Although she missed out on the WCW-ECW merger and subsequent Alliance storyline, she was signed the following year in 2002, where she made her debut as Vince McMahon's legal assistant. Because of course she would have some involvement with the genetic jackhammer. It would be here where Dawn Marie and Torrie Wilson's paths would cross for the first time. The two would quickly find themselves competing against one another in various mixed tag matches, including a mixed tag bout featuring Rikishi and Matt Hardy, and another match of the same kind at the UK exclusive pay-per-view Rebellion, involving John Cena and Billy Kidman, the same Billy Kidman that Torrie Wilson would later marry in real life. In the WWE story canon though, something seemed to be brewing in the backstage areas between Dawn, Torrie Wilson and her father. Al Wilson first appeared during September 2002, which would over time certainly lead to one of the most absurd storylines in wrestling history, which, considering how absurd wrestling is, that is a pretty tall feat. In regards to the ridiculous angle that would unfold, Dawn Marie, who would play a key role in the lunacy, recalled how this whole storyline was originally pitched by Paul Heyman, with the entire purpose of it all being to try and keep Dawn Marie's job as she was close to being let go, due to a lack of direction in the company. Torrie Wilson was apparently clued in early on the situation, and would even be given the choice of casting an actor to play the role of her father, or insanely even being allowed to offer the job to her actual father in real life. Hilariously, Torrie chose the latter, giving the reason being that she'd get to spend more time with her father on the road, leading to the unlikely recruitment of the real life Al Wilson and the salacious insanity that would take place.
So unlike Shelton Benjamin's caricature stereotype mama, Al Wilson was the legitimate father of Torrie.
It's still real to me, damn it!
So now that Mr. Wilson was on board, what would happen next? On the October 3rd episode of SmackDown, the first indication of a brooding romance between Mr. Wilson and Miss Marie would take place. A scene would occur featuring Al chilling out while drinking a coffee, and as he enjoyed his brew, Dawn Marie approached him and asked his opinion on her bikini for her upcoming bikini contest between herself and Al's very own daughter Torrie. Al replied that it looked fine. "Thank you, Mr. Wilson," Dawn said. As she turned, Torrie's father put his hand out on her wrist. "Call me Al." Dawn smiled and fluttered. "Thank you, Al."
This was just the beginning of this unlikely love story, as on a future installment of WWE SmackDown, Dawn Marie and Torrie Wilson would compete in a lingerie showdown, because wearing the sexiest underwear offered further proof who was the tougher athlete, I guess. Backstage, Torrie told her father how much she enjoyed the surprise of him showing up recently, but felt a little weird about him seeing her in lingerie later. Ultimately though, she would brush it off and said the two of them would have dinner together later.
As Torrie walked away, Dawn Marie entered the picture. She asked Al if she could get an honest opinion on this question. "Have you ever seen Twin Peaks before?" Dawn asked while opening up the top of her gown. Marie told Al how sweet he was and gave him a quick peck on the face. As the story progressed, there would be many more signs that there was a blooming romance between Al and Dawn, and this would be confirmed and in fact exceed expectations on the November 7th edition of SmackDown. Backstage, Al told his daughter that he had been a good father to her and that everything he had done had always been for her. And tonight, for the first time ever, he was going to do something for him. And he sure had been lonely since Al had split up from Torrie's mother. Al Wilson then went out to the ring and called out the seductive Dawn Marie. who he would then ask the big question, "Will you marry me?" Throughout this encounter, Michael Cole and Taz were mocking and laughing at the entire absurd situation, further adding to the cringe factor of this Jerry Springer-like stupidity. Dawn Marie, though, continued to remain quiet and wasn't answering, so Al continued, "Dawn, if you don't, I will kill myself, I swear to God." Dawn Marie kept him and everyone else in suspense for a while longer before finally agreeing.
In the following weeks, following this trash TV, an irate Torrie Wilson confronted Dawn Marie, distraught about the whole situation. Dawn Marie told Torrie that she would call the wedding off if Torrie Wilson agreed to get it on with her in some hot lesbian action. And by the way, no, ladies and gentlemen, I am not making any of this up. All of this actually happened in a period, I may add, where amusingly, wrestling was much more popular than it is today. I guess in the late 90s, WWE discovered they could make a lot of money by simply being as edgy as possible, so through this period we're still running with such a format. In fact, this was not the only time HLA was mentioned on television, as there was a separate desperate ratings grab featuring an entire wrestling show that was used to hype up the possibility of seeing two lesbians have sex live on Raw. But that's a whole story for another stupid episode on here.
Getting back to the Al Wilson story, rumours had started to spread everywhere, and on the December 12th broadcast of SmackDown, a furious Torrie Wilson confronted Dawn Marie about what she was doing. "What happened in that hotel was strictly personal, and just between the two of us," Torrie told Dawn. "I can't believe that you talk to me this way, Torrie, especially after the night we spent together. Wasn't it as special for you as it was for me? Feeling your skin next to mine was just a feeling that I could not even explain," Dawn taunted as she took off her jacket. "Stop it! Stop undressing and stop spreading these rumours!" Torrie blurted. She then reminded Dawn that if she had gone through with the indecent proposal as she did, that Dawn would agree to cancel the wedding between herself and Al.
Dawn called out to the ring, but then said that she couldn't call off the wedding, and in an even creepier twist to this story, Dawn would state that everything she had got up to with Al's daughter only reminded her of him, and made her miss him even more. Through this, Al would appear distressed and disappointed, but Dawn still managed to win him back over, and Al confirmed that he still wanted to marry her. Incensed that Dawn had gone back on her agreement, Torrie Wilson ran out and had a good scrap with Dawn that Al tried to stop. But he couldn't, and in fact he would end up being pushed over on his arse for his efforts. A couple of referees would manage to restrain Torrie as Dawn Marie grabbed the mic and taunted her, saying that everyone would know how much Torrie enjoyed what happened in that hotel room, and that everyone would soon know that Torrie is a sexual predator. Next in this gripping, extremely well-written piece of television history, the wedding would come next. And surprisingly, in a rare occurrence when it comes to wrestling, the wedding actually went ahead. Wrestling weddings are infamous for not making it through to the end, and usually just involve someone objecting to it and getting into a fight. This one though did make it to the end, and both Dawn Marie and Al stripped down to as little as could be shown on television. Thoroughly arousing, eh? The marriage was not quite the end of this all though. Oh no. The next week would see Dawn and Al on their honeymoon, though it appeared that Dawn was pushing Al to have more sex than he could possibly handle at his age, and as a result poor old Al would fall unconscious. In another crazy twist to this whole affair, it would soon be revealed that the amount of sex that Dawn was making Al have had led to him having a heart attack and shockingly passing away from the whole ordeal. Literally death by snoo-snoo.
This would lead to a devastated Torrie Wilson mourning over her father in an open casket at the memorial service. The feud between the two women was far from over as Dawn Marie would call out Torrie Wilson for her mourning being disingenuous. She further lambasted Torrie for not wanting to see her father be happy and only thinking of herself. She then said some members of her family believed Al died of a broken heart brought on by Torrie's disapproval of her marriage to Dawn. "You killed your father," Dawn said before delivering a slap across Torrie's face. Gasps were heard as Torrie stood there frozen for a while before retaliating with a slap of her own, causing Dawn to run into the casket and knock it over. A hysterical Torrie screamed at Dawn that she hated her and then fell to her knees, telling her deceased father's corpse how sorry she was. But from behind, Dawn smashed a lamp across Torrie's back to knock her out cold.
In a theme that seems fairly common for WWE at the time, keeping in mind the Mama Benjamin angle we looked at last week, A storyline that started out involving comedy and innuendo seemed to turn very dark very fast. A perfect example, I guess, of a phrase anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation, a tagline the company used to pride itself on. The funeral would lead to a stepmother versus stepdaughter match at the 2003 Royal Rumble, which Torrie Wilson would win, so at least the heroine of this tale triumphed on this occasion. To put into perspective how cringe-inducing some of this was, even Michael Cole would remark that this is the most uncomfortable I have been ever calling a match. Thankfully though, following the Rumble, this story would finally get put to bed, as a few nights later on SmackDown, Dawn and Torrie had one final match, but it appeared to be more to set up a new rivalry as Nydia attacked Torrie Wilson after the bra and panties match. From the start of this fiasco, when Dawn and Al hooked up, to the abrupt proposal, to the sudden insertion of lesbian manipulation, to the death of the Al Wilson character, this was, without a doubt, one of the most absurd storylines the WWE has ever produced. Though, let's be honest, we are probably talking about it almost 20 years later for all the wrong reasons. It is both shocking and hilarious in equal measures to think that there were people who wrote this, and that time from SmackDown was given to air these segments. 2002 and the world of wrestling can truly be insane. As for Al Wilson, he would sadly pass away in real life too, but not until 2019. In this rather heartbreaking turn of events, his sudden passing happened just days before Torrie would be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, so he would never get to see one of his daughter's proudest career moments. But just due to the crazy story on WWE television alongside Dawn Marie, none of us are ever going to forget the man who died on TV after having a rigorous sex session. What a freaking stud. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the mad story of Al Wilson. Let me know in the comment section which silly wrestling character you would like us to spotlight next, as there is a whole universe of absurdity out there for us to cover. You can find Oliver Peace's wrestling channel via the pinned comment to this video, and you can find my content covering the history of various famous wrestling games over on the Top Hat Gaming Man channel. But first, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to ensure you never miss a wrestling video on here. Cheerio.